If you want to see how we built this beautiful coffee table using solid ash wood, make sure to stay tuned. Let's get started. Alright, so as we stated, we decided to build this piece out of solid ash due to its wood grain and color. Ash is a light hardwood, but unlike maple, the wood grain pops out after sanding, giving it more of a textured feel, which is honestly exactly what we wanted for this build. When designing these pieces, we always try to take all this into consideration before we even purchase the wood. The reason is because you do not want to dedicate so much time and energy into a build and then realize at the end that it was not even what you had envisioned. Just like every other video, we started the build by cutting our lumber down to rough measurements to begin the milling process. A lot of people ask us why we do this, and really there are two reasons. One, most of the lumber we purchase is wider than our planer infeed table and than our joiner. Therefore, if we have such a large piece, we are unable to mill it at all. And secondly, it just makes everything a lot easier. One thing we have noticed is that hardwood is very heavy. Therefore, cutting it down to smaller boards makes it more manageable to work with, even if we end up gluing it back together in the end. For this design to work, we wanted the top panel to only consist of 4 6-inch boards to minimize the size of the glue up. The only problem with that is our joiner cannot mill a 6-inch board. Therefore, we decided to use a planer sled to flatten that first face to move on to the next step of the milling process. We started off by cutting a few shims from some scrap pine we had to use with the planer sled. We won't go too in topic on how to use a planer sled, as we are pretty new at this ourselves, but basically the whole point is to use the shims to fill in any low points of the board so that once it is being planed, it will have an even surface to reference. Sometimes, if the gap is so small, you can use playing cards and use that to fill in the gap little by little. I guess it seems as we did go into the topic. Sorry. We used hot glue to hold the shims and board in place to then run the board through the planer. We won't bore you with all of the footage, but we basically repeated this process on all 4 of the top panel boards. The next day, we milled the boards that were going to make up the other 2 panels and moved on to step 2, which is edging all of the boards. Since these boards were smaller than the other ones, we were able to use our joiner. We can honestly say that even though the milling process is very lengthy, it is extremely satisfying to see rough lumber turn into smooth wood that can be used for furniture. I mean, look at that. Isn't that a beauty? We always advise to check your boards for squaring as you are milling them to avoid over milling them. I know that sounds funny, but a very experienced woodworker once told us that the more times you run a board through a joiner, the more room there is for error. This is definitely something that has happened to us in the past, so we thought we'd share it as a little tip to keep in mind. Once you have a perfectly square board, it's time to finish the milling process by running the boards through the planer on the opposite face and then cleaning up the final edge on your table saw. So if you've been watching our videos, you might have noticed that our milling station has changed various times over the last few weeks and months, and that is because we are yet to find like the perfect table to set up both our joiner and our miller. We started off with an old computer desk and had tried different designs, but every time we try something new it ends up breaking. So in this video you're gonna see us mill in this center section and just move the tools around. But if you are a fellow woodworker and have any recommendations that we can purchase to set up a nice milling station, please let us know in the comment section below. We are desperately trying to find the perfect one for our space, so please feel free to drop in the comment section below any suggestions that you may have. One thing that we have learned in our many hours of going through this process is to pencil the boards as you are milling them. This will allow you to visibly see how the planer is flattening the boards and will let you know once it's perfectly flat. As we have said in prior videos, this process takes a while, so make sure to set aside enough time to do the milling process. Before doing any kind of glue up, we always like to clean up our space to ensure we have a clean area to work in. We are planning on upgrading our shop space in the near future to give us more room to work with. To glue up these panels, we will be using Titebond original wood glue. Something that we have learned is that when working with light woods such as ash or maple, you want to use this glue over the Titebond 2 or 3. The reason for this is because the Titebond 1 dries lighter, making it easier to remove from the wood in the end. We have used Titebond 2 or 3 in the past with these lighter wood species, and it dries in a brown greenish color, making it extremely hard to remove. We like to take our time when gluing these panels up to ensure that we are adding enough glue to the seams. The last thing you want is dry spots throughout your panel. We repeated the same process for the other two panels that will make up this coffee table. If you have made it this far in the video, we want to thank you so much for your support throughout this journey. My wife and I are extremely passionate about woodworking, and our goal is to be as educational as possible so that you can recreate these builds if you desire. We want to show people how unique each piece of wood is and how beautiful it is to incorporate something like this into your home. If you have learned anything throughout this video or have just had a good time, please consider hitting the thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. It truly helps us make videos like these for you guys. Okay, so you may have noticed that in the recent clips we glued up the small panel, and now you're going to see us plane it into separate pieces. The reason for that is that this planer can only handle up to 13 inches wide boards, and with the glue up this was beyond that. So just a little bump in the road along the way. We didn't think about that when we were doing the actual glue up, so that's fine. Bumps like this are gonna happen along the way. What we did was cut it right on the seam again, and then once we finish playing this down, then we will do one final glue up. We did the same thing with the other boards, and the reason being is that we have figured has been the best way for us to get perfect glue ups is to plane everything, glue two boards up, run that through the planer, and then do one final glue up.
And I guess the only reason I'm jumping in here is just we have been struggling, you guys, like so much emotionally, like mentally and physically. Because when you watch these videos on the internet of people doing this, like it looks so easy, so straight to the point, so dummy free. And here you are trying it and it's not working. So what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? And I guess I just want to come out here and hopefully someone else sees this video and just learns to you'll get there.
Yeah.
Eventually you'll get there. This is our third major project like this with wood,
with hardwood,
and we've learned so much along the way, and things have gotten a lot easier, but we're still struggling, and we found that doing it this way is the way for us right now until our technique gets better. So I guess just let our voice be the voice that you hear when you're struggling to remind you that it's okay as long as your end result gets where you want it to be. It doesn't matter how you get there. So the videos out there are all very helpful, but don't let them make you feel like there's only one way to achieve it.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong with this. It's just a matter of getting that final result. As Adriana mentioned, that's really all that matters. So we're gonna go ahead and plane this down one last time, do the final glue up, and then we can get to the actual building of this table. Let's go. After re-gluing everything up, we waited 24 hours for the glue to dry before moving on to the next step, which was cutting everything down to final dimensions. We have found this to be the best way to ensure that you get the exact size you want in your builds. We used our table saw to cut down the smaller panel and then used our Craig track saw to cut down the two larger panels. We have been using this track saw for the last few months and we can honestly say that it has been a game changer in these bigger builds. If you want to see how we use this exact saw to build a whole dining set, make sure to click the video above. With everything cut down to size, it was time to start sanding. As we were getting ready to do this, we noticed that a corner of the table had chipped off while we were cutting it down to size. Since the whole purpose of this design is the sharp, sleek corners, we knew we had to fix it. Using a small Japanese handsaw, we removed a bit more of the corner and then found a piece with a similar wood grain to glue onto there. The thinking was that once it was sanded, you would not be able to notice that this had happened. It was the first time we ever did this, so we were a bit nervous, but decided that anything was better than that. We have seen a few woodworkers try this technique and decided it was our turn. We glued the piece on, and while it was drying, we started on every woodworker's nightmare: sanding. This process is extremely lengthy, but it's what can make or break a finished piece. The way you sand your piece can vary depending on the sealer you are planning to use. But since we are going to be using Rubio Monocoats to finish our product, we will only be sanding this piece up to 150 grit sandpaper with water popping in between grits. We have noticed that this is what works best with this finish, and the water popping technique really helps us achieve the smoothest finish. We repeated the same steps with the other panels. During the sanding process, we also tend to use the pencil method. This helps us visibly see what has already been sanded to avoid oversanding or undersanding. After sanding, we decided to start working on the groove that was going to secure the two bottom pieces together. To do this, we measured the thickness of our piece and then using two scrap pieces of plywood, we made a template for our router to follow. We then slowly ate away at the groove until we had achieved the desired depth. One thing we would say is that if you are using a router in your shop, make sure to wear some sort of ear protection. These routers can get extremely loud. After dry testing the two pieces, we sanded the area one last time and attached the bottom pieces using wood glue. At this point, we were very excited as it was all coming together. The next day, we came back to remove the clamps holding the bottom panels together and to finish the oopsie from earlier. We cut the excess wood using a Japanese handsaw and sanded it down so that it looked like this in the end. Considering this was the first time we ever did this, we are extremely proud at how it came out.
Okay, so I think we've gotten to like the scariest part of this whole project.
Yeah, so everything's fully sanded, everything's fully ready. All we have to do is actually attach the two pieces together. And we want to start off by saying we are sorry if there's a lot of background noise. Unfortunately, it's been very hot here in Florida and we have our fan on.
Let me show you guys how hot it is. I took this picture like an hour ago. Let's show you guys. 113.
Yeah, so unfortunately we can't be out here for very long without the fan. So since this is going to be requiring a little bit of an explanation, we figured we'd just leave it on there.
Yeah.
We have thought about many different ways to attach these two pieces. We thought about doing C-channels. We thought about just doing glue. And we ultimately came down to that.
Actually, we even bought we bought like a metal brace, which we were going to insert in the leg. But how this, I don't know if you guys have noticed, we kind of have like a design, like we go for like this aesthetic. So we don't want, this is very like sleek and simple and minimalist. So we don't want there to be like, for you to see this like metal under, you know? So
ultimately we decided to use dowels to attach this together. We do not have a fancy dowel tool that will help you, any type of joiner. We are simply going to be using tape a drill bit, and some dowels from Home Depot.
And a lot of prayer.
Yeah, so we're really nervous to do this, but I have a feeling that it'll turn out all right.
I don't know. I think we've kind of been like putting it off for a few days now because every time we come out here to start, we're like, no, we're too tired.
We're not ready. We're not ready.
No, it's too hot. We can't concentrate. So nothing. We just gotta throw ourselves and see what happens.
So let's show you how we're gonna do that and pray for us, guys.
Let's go.
We hope so. So the best way we have found to do this is to mark the area where the other panel is going to go and then place a piece of tape to cover that area. Make sure to leave your tape longer than the size of your panel so that you will have how to attach it in the end. Believe me, it will all make sense. We then marked where our dowels would go and opened the holes using a drill bit.
Make sure to always check your tape, and if you don't know why, check this video above.
Once all the holes were opened, we placed the other panel on top of the top panel and attached the tape to the bottom piece using the excess pieces of tape from the initial strip we added. We then carefully flipped the whole panel over, leaving you with clear locations to drill your second set of holes. We then used wood glue to add the dowels to the top piece panel, and let's just see how this all went. Wait a second. So I think we actually did it.
Oh my gosh.
So we want to point out that this is the first time ever that we actually, I think, attach something.
Well, no.
This is the first time that it comes out so successful on the first try.
Well, we've done it, and if you guys haven't seen our videos where we created some lounge chairs for our backyard, like we did it, but we did it very different there because we kind of drilled through everything. So
That was horrible.
They're rustic, so it's like whatever, like, and the dowels were like this thick. So
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, no igual.
No.
But oh my gosh.
We did it.
We did. So clamping it down was kind of tricky because obviously you could always put pressure in the two sides, but in the middle was kind of hard. So we kind of like
Las inventamos. We kind of just figured it out.
yeah, we're like, vamos a ver qué hacemos. Like we discovered a little system, and like, a couple hours we
can all clamp
loosen it. Our fear is always that we don't want it to warp. So obviously, once you clamp anything down, even if it's the original glue up, always like have a level, have a square. Check, you guys, because like this, la
It'll
cosa,
work.
yeah, things se mueven. So
What we're gonna do is we're gonna let it sit.
sorry, I'm so excited. I'm like,
We did it. So we are gonna let this dry. Maybe not the full 24 hours. We'll let it dry maybe for like, I would say like 6 or 8 hours, maybe 12.
Yeah,
And then we're gonna come unclamp everything, and then the last step will be to finish it using the Rubio monocoat that we've used in previous videos. And then that's it.
And then we can put it
We're
in
done.
the living room. Oh my god!
And then we'll give you guys a montage. So
Okay,
let's go.
let's go.
We are extremely happy with how this build came out and could not have asked for more. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you would like to purchase this table or any of the other items you've seen in this video, make sure to check out our website. We'll see you on the next one. Bye!